Hello and welcome back to the Wisdom for Humanity podcast series. My name is James Malins, I am the Wisdom Guide, and through this series I'm going to be helping you to go from your present state to your desired state through wisdom, knowledge and real life experiences. So in this episode we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs. Now I love talking about limiting beliefs because guess what? When we get through those limiting beliefs, the entire world is our oyster. And all it takes is a little bit of perspective and information. So many people are struggling to get through their limiting beliefs because of things like fear or judgment or the opinions of others or what if I fail? You know, I often hear, and some of you might resonate with this, is many people, they don't break through those limiting beliefs because they say to them, well, I'm afraid of failure. Well, the interesting thing when it comes to failure is, what is failure? You know, what does failure mean to you? Because just like we've talked about in the other episodes, it's all about how we experience life, right? Everybody experiences life in a different way. We have different perceptions on life. We have different truths. We have different beliefs in our lives. And some people believe that failure is a bad thing. They believe that when we fail, everyone's going to judge us and we're going to feel terrible. And oh my God, you know, we failed and this is ridiculous. You know, how am I going to ever get through life now? But then sometimes you can look at failure and think to yourself, okay, so I failed. I'm clearly not supposed to be on my path right now. Or maybe I'm not supposed to win yet. Maybe I haven't become the person necessary to be deserving of this win. And it's difficult to look like that, you know, because if you're still very in tune with the ego, you're still very in tune with what's important for you, then you can look at those scenarios and think, well, why should I ever have to put up with it? I should have it right now. And the I's great. You know, again, like I said in the other, having that I, having that selfishness isn't a bad thing, but the emotion associated with it needs to be looked at. So this is very important, and I need you guys, if you want to take notes, write this down. It's not the I or the selfishness that is the problem. It's the emotion associated with it. So if you're getting frustrated, you're fed up, you're sick of the fact that you've not got your dream, you're sick of the fact that you're not successful and you haven't reached this idea of a better life, and you're miserable and you're annoyed about it, then that's a massive reason as to why you might not be succeeding. Okay, so sometimes it takes a level of letting go. And not letting go is in the sense of, you know, not making plans or not expecting or not trying to create things, but just letting go of this idea that you should have it, because you shouldn't. Just like I'm doing these podcasts and get it, I shouldn't have anything until I've worked for it, until I've earned it, until I've showed the respect worthy of deserving it. And this is contrary to what a lot of people will believe, you know, but I think that, and I feel inside of myself that when it comes to manifesting, creating and getting through these limiting beliefs, that there is a level of respect. There are a million things that could go wrong and there are a million things that could go right. And when we've got these things going right, how many of us are grateful for it? How many of us are focused on that? How many of us have our vibrational tendencies and ourselves actually tuned towards the fact that things are going right, I'm excited, I'm happy? Sometimes we take it for granted. So going back to this limiting belief and what we perceive in it and how we believe it, I think that it comes down to what your idea of failure is, you know, or coming back to failure. You know, if you think that failure is the be all and end all, then that's fine. But failure a lot of times is a lesson, or failure is putting you on the right path, or failure is allowing you to readjust so that you can succeed in the future. Because don't forget, if you succeed, let's just say you've got two angles, right? In this very present moment, you can either succeed or fail. Well, if you succeed now, you might make $1 million in a year. But if you fail now, you might make 20 million in 2 years. So again, difficult way to look at it, but life is all about a very deeper understanding and perspective and opening your mind to the other plans that this world and this universe has for us. Okay, so it's very important that we have that respect. So we've come full circle. Limiting beliefs, failure, and respect. Have respect for the journey. Have respect for what you're going through. Have respect for the situation that you're in. Because when you've got that respect, even if you don't believe in external entities or you think that, you know, believe in God or you believe in the universe, I think that there is something, whether it's at source or whether it's through religion, that we have a level of respect with. It's an understanding, right? It's an understanding that if we put in the effort, we put in the work, we grind for it, we do what we've got to do, we will attain and receive what it is that we're looking for. And a lot of people overlook that. They overlook that very key point. They put out there, I'm going to get 50k in a couple of weeks. I'm going to get 50k in a month. I'm receiving abundance of money. I'm receiving. Yeah, look, it works. Okay, if you've got all the components right, it works. But if you don't have the components, You can say that until you're blue in the face, it ain't going to come. Okay? It isn't going to come. You have to have the emotion and the desire and the obsession and the persistence and the respect to get these things into your life and to receive these things. If you set the intention, the universe will plan something and will put you on the right course to receive it. So here's an example. You want £50,000. Okay, you want £50,000 and you want it in 6 months. But it isn't just a want. It's an absolutely have to have moment. It's a, I don't want 50,000. I absolutely have to have it. There is no other way that I'm going to live in this world without getting it. Now, just quick disclaimer here. When it comes to manifesting things like money, you do what you've got to do. A lot of people say, well, I manifested and it didn't happen. Okay, there's a lot of different variables. Like I said, when it comes to failure, maybe you're not supposed to receive it right now. There is a higher guiding light. There is a higher guiding essence that is pulling things in our way to help us to learn a lesson. So do be very aware of that. But if you are ready, and you're willing to receive, and there's that respect, and you are ready to have it, and it says, okay, you've put the effort and you put the work, I can see this now, and you receive it and you get it, that's what it's all about. Because you've set the correct intentions, you've showed the respect, and you've put the right aspects of the law of attraction into place in order to receive what it is that you were supposed to receive. So limiting beliefs, failure, all these things, it's a very interesting thing, and you've got to understand that your limitations are only based on your beliefs. Right in the title. Your limitations are 100% based off of your beliefs. If you believe you're limited, you're going to be limited. If you believe you're going to fail, you're going to fail. If you're afraid of failure and you think that it's all you ever receive, then that's pretty much what you're going to receive. And again, please feel free to show me another example of where this is not the case. Even if you tried to prove it scientifically, it would prove this correctly. Is that when a collective amount of people or a single person is manifesting and attracting something, its consciousness, its conscious and subconscious vibratory essences, through sacred geometry like the macabre, and through fractals, which our universe emanates from, will give you what it is you want. That's quite a bit of jargon there. We're going to go into some deep spirituality in the next few episodes. But when we come to limiting beliefs, it's all about the vocabulary inside your mind. It's about the vocabulary inside your mind. What are you telling yourself in this present moment? Are you telling yourself you're worthless? Are you telling yourself you'll never achieve? Don't be ridiculous. I will never become a millionaire. Guess what? Okay? If you're telling yourself, I will never ever get anywhere where I want to be. I'll never be an actor. I'll never be a musician. I'm not good enough. There must be something special with these people. They've had a silver spoon. They've had it all given on a platter. Blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Okay, all this lack of respect, all this indignified vocabulary in your mind, all this stuff that makes no sense, all this stuff that isn't going to help you to get to where you want to be, that's exactly why you're staying stagnant. That's exactly why you're staying where you are right now. You have to understand that this respect, this vocabulary in your mind has to change. We said it in the other lesson. Thoughts, feelings, actions, outcomes. Your thoughts and your vocabulary, your thoughts has to change. And it can be as subtle as, I want to have this, to I do have this. Or I need to have this, to it's in my bank account. Or I want this to come along, I already have it right here in front of me. And what happens here is, if you think of it like a 3D printer, okay, the layers of the 3D printer are your thoughts, and when you go through these thoughts, what actually happens is you should start creating and manifesting. The 3D printer is your subconscious, and your thoughts are what the material is, and your conscious mind is what literally is playing it all out. So now that we understand that, we now look at finding truths. Okay, so if you want to attain something, you want to get somewhere, and you believe that you've got limits, find people who've already done it. And if nobody's already done it, then it's your responsibility to be the first person. But I guarantee you that the vast majority of the time, somebody has already done it. And if somebody's already done it, follow in their footsteps. You've heard a lot of people talk about this, and it's such an important thing, and there are so many people that overlook it. If somebody has already done what it is that you want to do, then follow in their footsteps. They've already done it. They've already proved that it can be done. They've already proved to you that it's possible. And if that's the case, how could you ever have limiting beliefs? Because you can always learn or adopt something that they have that's going to make you resonate and become someone who creates and gets what it is that they have. Because take for instance me. No one will ever be me, but people can be like me. They can tell their own story. They can spread their own message. They can do their own things. Same with Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty, Prince EA, and actors, Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Oprah Winfrey, Kate Blanchett, whatever. Everybody can do something, but they add their own little twist and their own little shine on it. You can do anything you want in this world, but it'll be yours, and it'll be what you can give to the table and what you can bring to this beautiful, universal essence that we are living in our being right now. So once we've found the examples and we've found people that have already done it and people that have proved that it can happen, now we have to look at our fear. Right? Fear is a huge limiting belief. Yeah, I know that. Of course, I totally know that. Fear comes into things. It stops us from making opportunities. It stops us from taking the right opportunities. It stops us from meeting people. It stops us from doing stuff we enjoy. It stops us feeling good. Fear can stop us from going out and doing something that we've always wanted to do. Based off of what? Right? Fear of what? What are you afraid of? What are the things that you're afraid of the most? And you can write this down on your notepad as you're watching this episode or whenever you can. What is it you're afraid of? Ask yourself the question, talk to yourself, get to know yourself. Because what you find is that whatever it is you're afraid of, whether it's failing, whether it's upsetting people, whether it's never getting to where you want to be, dying alone, dying unfulfilled, not being able to provide the right service, upsetting somebody who paid you for a coaching session, you could never ever do it. What are you afraid of? And whatever you're afraid of, let me tell you something. There will be a set of skills or a perspective that will totally evaporate that fear. You're afraid of talking on stage? Do it in increments. Talk in front of one person, talk in front of 5 people, talk in front of 20 people, then get to the point where you're talking in front of 250, 500, 6,000 people. What are you afraid of? And as soon as you're afraid of something, then go ahead and conquer it. Because you'll never please everybody. You'll never please everybody, and you'll never be able to get to a point where everybody loves you, because unfortunately people are at different stages in their journey, and that's what life is all about. So bearing that in mind, realise that when it comes to the fear, most of it's illogical. Fear is, a lot of people say fear isn't real. Well, I think that's a very interesting phrase. Danger is what they say. Fear isn't real, danger is what's real. And what you do with danger is up to you. Fear is in the mind. And yeah, of course it is. Fear is absolutely in the mind. So there you ask yourself the question, can you control fear? Well, there's a natural human response with anxiety. When it comes to doing anything new, you feel the butterflies, you start sweating, you panic a little bit. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It means that it means something to you. Because if it didn't mean anything to you, you wouldn't be doing it. That's a really important one for you. You see a beautiful man or woman up at the bar and you want to go and talk to them, but you're afraid because you don't want to make a bad first impression. Here's something for you. If you want to jump outside of your comfort zone, realise that everybody who we come across in this life, everybody, up to this present moment, has had something to give us. Not everyone stayed. Some haven't stayed at all. Some have never even entered. But some of them have stuck around. And for those people that have stuck around, that right there is worth going up and saying, hey, would you like a drink? Hey, I saw you over there. I wanted to come over and have a chat with you, get to know you. Right? And this is what it's all about. Someone might tell you to F off. They might be like, nah, get out of here. I don't want to, what are you on about? What are you coming over for? And they might be in a bad place. They might just be a bad person. And guess what? You got your information. It's not somebody you ever want to associate yourself with. Obviously, if it's just with you, they might be amazing to someone else. That's totally up to them. But in that present moment, if you've gone up to them and you said, hey, I'd like to buy you a drink, or you've introduced yourself, you want to get to know them, and they've told you to get out of here, F off, whatever, then you've got your answer. You don't have to ask any more questions. You don't have to say, oh, is it because I'm not beautiful? You don't have to say, oh, well, is my dress or my jeans ugly, or are my shoes, not to... Because if that's what they're looking at, if that's what they judge their ability to know whether you're a good person or not, then you know what the deal is. And some people might argue and say, well, James, why would they go and talk over at the minute? It's because they find them physically attractive. Yes, of course. All right, of course. But I would like to think that most people are not finding somebody physically attractive just based off of their clothing, their facial features. Maybe it's because they've got brown hair. Maybe they just look like they need a friend and you want to go over and say hello. Maybe it's not even relationship based or, intimate based. Maybe it's just literally chatting with somebody. You're alone and you think to yourself, sod this, I'm fed up of being alone, so I'm going to go over in there and talk to them. You say, can I buy you a drink? Nothing serious, just want to have a friend. You know, you look like you could do one with one. I look like I could, I know I could do with one. You go over and you buy them a drink and you get chatting. Maybe you'd be friends for the next 25 years. But it's all about letting go of that fear, right? Knowing your boundaries, knowing and understanding yourself, because, even if they're a weirdo, say, oh, look at that, look at the time, I've got to get out of here, and you just leave. Having the preparations in place, having the right precautions in place. And this is it. And, the only reason why I bring that up is because I know that a few people will have that objection. Some people watching, they might say, well, that's ridiculous. I'm afraid of talking to people because you never know who you're talking to. Yeah, I get that. Totally understand that. For men and women all over the place, for men and women everywhere. But if we think about that like everybody, you wouldn't meet people who are close to you right now. You got friends who you've been friends with for life? Or you got friends who you met on a night out that you're still friends with 6 years later? Think about it. You'd never have met those people if you didn't try. And if you're a good person, there's more good people out there. I know I'm a good person. I try to be that every day, and that's how I know, because I try. I make the effort to be a good person. Well, yeah, so it's very important that we understand that fear is genuinely a choice. If you feel the fear, go and do it. And if you're shaking and trembling, maybe somebody's going to say, hey, listen, relax, it's okay. Don't worry about that, you'll be all right. Let me buy you a drink, or let me buy you dinner. Let's have a chat, let's get to know each other. And take the fear out of it. Take the fear out of the scenario. And if people are smart enough and they've got that much of an understanding of people, they'll help you to do that. I'll give you a personal example. I've had it where a woman's come over and seen she's nervous as hell. And I said, is everything all right? And I can see that she's nervous, and I know why. So I sit down and I'm like, hey, look, how you doing? And I get talking to them, and the nerves disappear. They come out of their shell, and you find out they're actually a real cracking person. And this is where what we've got to look at in life, is that a lot of our fear is fictitiously created inside of our minds. Like, have you ever had it where you've been stood on top of a container? Actually, I'm going back to my childhood here. So I stood on top of a container, afraid to jump down. I finally ended up doing it, and I found out, hey, well, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. And there's millions of examples of that throughout the world, where you've literally turned around to yourself and you've said, well, that's not as bad as I thought it would be, because you allowed your thoughts to control you. You allowed your thoughts to amplify the feeling of fear, which amplified your action of procrastination, which meant that your outcome was pretty crappy, to say the least. Or your outcome wasn't what you wanted it to be, which is the most important thing. If you want something, go out and get it. And that brings me finally to the last bit, is loving the challenge. Like, this life is a challenge. This life is a beautiful challenge. It's where you get to learn more about yourself and feel the successes and feel the failures. I've had failures and I love the failures because I learn. And I know that when I come back, I'll be better than the rest. I'll be better than the other people that came before me. And that means that if I'm better, then it means that I'm moving forwards. And this is the thing, if we're moving forwards, then we're always going to be getting to a place where we want to be. And that is one of the most important things that you can really strive for, is loving the challenge, getting past that fear. And I'll be honest, as soon as you get past the fear, you'll love it anyway. Why? Because you feel alive. And that's what a lot of us are striving for. A lot of us are striving to feel something that makes us feel alive. And until we attain that, until we get to that position, everything else along that road will be miserable, because you'll be living half of a life, which is by nobody's standards anywhere near what we should be doing. We should live life to the fullest. We should feel good. We should be happy, and we should be striving to get to where it is that we want to be. So listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode on limiting beliefs. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. I would ask that you share this with your friends and family. If you really enjoyed this episode, you really, enjoyed the concepts and you liked where we took this, then go and share it with your friends and family on Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is. If you've got somebody who's at work and you think to yourself, I'm really excited about this podcast, then do me a favor and share it with them. Get them to download it. I would appreciate that immensely, more than you could ever know. And as always, this has been James Malins, the Wisdom Guide. Get ready for the next episode. Episode 7 will already be out. You'll already be able to watch that straight away because I've done this. So listen, guys, I appreciate every single one of you spending the time to listen to this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode.